Me too.
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 I'm Melody Parks, and this is my Me Too story. It's hard to share a story because you don't know if you're going to be judged or criticized or shamed. I've found when someone has shared something that I have in common with them, that helps me. And their bravery makes me want to be brave. So I think that if people have a fear of sharing something that makes them vulnerable, do it anyway. Because I think there's strength in that. It's something that can connect you to another person, because that's where we're always looking for a connection. It seems bullshit that we have to be in this space where we have to bring awareness to something. I mean, women being devalued and just people devaluing each other has been happening since humans have been on this planet. So it's sad that we are in this space where we feel like we need to have another level of education to say, hey, this person is a person and this person doesn't deserve to be violated because this person is a person. It's ridiculous, but here we are again. You know, I'm grateful that people feel that I'm one of these people that feels empowered to share my story because I've done nothing wrong. But I'm sitting in this chair. As a woman, I'm sitting in this chair, and most of the perpetrators are men. How many chairs are men sitting in? You know, afraid of telling their story, afraid of owning up to something. How many men are being honest about the things that they've done? How many men have the strength to say, I messed up. I screwed up and I'm sorry, and these are the things I'm gonna do to do better. I think it would be helpful for men to say, to own up to what they've done, whether they've actually done something or they've stood by as they've watched something happen. Because that happens a lot. I mean, there's so many men that have done nothing to physically harm another person, but they've been witness to something. I was back in high school and we were at a house party, and one of our friends threw this party, and at one point I think he decided that, hey, I want that girl. And we all knew each other. She wasn't a stranger. And he grabbed her by the arm and he started pulling her towards a bedroom. Then he started dragging her towards a bedroom. So I grabbed her and we were having a tug of war over our friend. And three guys, one of them was my boyfriend at the time, just stood there. They stood there and watched and did nothing. And I couldn't believe it. And so there are these two petite girls trying to fight off this boy man, and three men are standing there and they're doing nothing about it. I'm standing up for this girl and you guys are these strong men and you're doing nothing. And they just wimped out. And I think, reflecting on it now, I think that they were intimidated by him. And it blew my mind, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget these people who I thought were good people just standing there. And I'm sure to this day they think, oh, I've never assaulted someone. But they were witness to someone being assaulted. And had I not pulled this girl away, what would have happened? Something horrible would have happened because they weren't stopping it and I was a witness to it. People need to speak up. People need to realize that they have power. Men need to speak up. Men need to understand that they have the power to harm, but they have the power to help as well. Men have to stop each other. Men have to stop other men from doing these things. Perpetrators need to stop. They need to be stopped. And the only way that's going to happen is if people speak up. One voice can be the voice that could change so many things. And I think if we understood how powerful we all are, just as a single person, then more change would happen. And I think so many people get away with so many horrible things because the people watching don't feel that they have power, or the people that it's happening to don't feel that they have power. Being at a party, and some friends had got a house, they'd moved into a new place, and so there was a house party that happened, and you know, there was a lot of drinking happening, so a lot of people spent the night so they wouldn't drive home. And I was sleeping in a room the boyfriend and I at the time were just sleeping in a room, just fell asleep. And I remember being touched. And I was asleep, and I remember being touched, and I just assumed it was him and didn't think anything about it. And then something was off, and I remember waking up and opening my eyes, and it wasn't my boyfriend at all. My boyfriend was asleep next to me, and there was a guy that had been at the party, was touching me under a blanket. And I was hazy, and I saw him, and he took off and he ran out of the room. And I laid there like, what the hell just happened? Did that just happen? Did this really just happen? And I was frozen for a while. And then I wasn't frozen, and I got up and I walked through the house looking for him. And I found him asleep on a couch in the living room. And I just stood there, and I didn't say anything, and I didn't do anything. And there was a part of me that thought, I'm not sure where this comes from, but I thought, he's the friend of these other people. Oh, this could be really uncomfortable. Do I scream and yell? Do I wake everybody up? Like, I didn't want to inconvenience people. I didn't want to create an uncomfortable environment. And I'm not the one who created it. He created it. And I think about that, and I tried to block it out, and I think I blocked it out for a really long time. And then thought about it again, like, where did that come from? I feel like I'm such a strong person, such a powerful person, yet I didn't do something when someone did something to me. Why is that? I stood there beside the couch, and he was fake sleeping, and I thought, I don't even know exactly what I thought. Maybe I thought, what should I do? What should I say? Should I kick him in the head? I don't know, but I didn't. And there were other friends that were asleep in the house. You know, there had been a party. There were several people. I don't think I wanted to cause a scene. I think there's something that gets taught to certain people very early on where you feel like you don't own your body. You feel like you don't own you. And as an African American in America, there's very much that. I mean, it's slavery. You didn't own your body. You didn't own your children. Your children could be taken away. Your spouse could be taken away. I think it's extremely important for parents to trust their children and teach children ownership of themselves. Trust the child to say, no, I don't want to have a physical connection with a person, someone else. I think it's very important for kids to be honored early on. There are a couple simple things that happen that people don't really think about. A little kid, let's say it's a family holiday, and a mom wants their child to hug this uncle that they don't want to hug. Go ahead, go hug Uncle Harvey, hug him. And the child doesn't want to. But whenever they're forced to hug someone, they're being told, I don't own my body. When a little girl is told that, you know, the little boy on the playground, if he hits you, oh, that he likes you. He likes you. What message is that being sent? That sets the stage for an abusive relationship cycle where someone harms you. That equates to love. So there's so many messages that women are sent at such an early age that set the stage for this behavior, so that women, these things happen to women and they feel that they can't speak up, and then men do these things and they feel like, hey, I can get away with it. And there's a cycle that starts. Women are sent mixed messages all the time. We want you to be assertive, but if you're too assertive, then you're a bitch. We want you to be confident, but if you're too confident, then you're a bitch. You know, there's so many messages that get sent that women are so afraid of offending the people that are around them, so we just smile and we joke about things and we laugh things off and hope to we want the uncomfortable situation to pass. So we don't say anything. I really appreciate the METOO campaign is going global. In France, their METOO is squeal on your pig. And so they're creating legislation so that, anytime a woman feels that she's been harmed in some way, they can file charges. I think that that's a great idea. I don't know how you can track every single incident, but I think that if people feel that, hey, if I do something, I could get caught, I could lose my livelihood, I need to straighten up. And then hopefully if those things happen, I think that maybe it could change. Instead of the victim being seen as the problem, maybe people will become more self-aware and say, maybe I should shift how I interact with people, how I talk to people. Who am I? Why are, because let's say a certain person constantly gets, if it keeps happening with a person, then those that accuse that person can't all be wrong. But we shouldn't have to get to numbers of 30, 40, and 50 before people go, oh, maybe that first person was right. Why does something horrible have to happen before people will believe someone? When someone gets accused of harming a woman, that number has to grow to dozens before people say, maybe that person is guilty. Why do we have to get to number 50 for people to say, oh, wow, yeah, maybe he's got a problem? Why isn't woman number one enough? Why isn't woman number one enough to believe that something could be wrong, something actually did happen? You know what I mean? Where it's like, why do we have to, so many other women have to be added together? Because in my mind, I think one woman's story isn't enough for something to change, but 50 women story, that means that someone is a problem. So 50 women equals one woman? 50 stories? Okay, so you put them all together, okay, now we have an issue. Story number one should have been enough. Because if that first person felt empowered enough to say, hey, this horrible thing happened to me, then maybe all those other women would never have been harmed. Our country has evolved in so many ways over the last hundreds of years. And people have to be uncomfortable before things change. I think civil rights, women's suffrage, people were uncomfortable with women having the right to vote, and then eventually women got the right to vote, and now it's a no-brainer. I think when it comes to sexual assault, I think that maybe we should. Every time someone harms someone, they know that there's a chance that they could go to jail for it, or they could have a fine, or that they could be publicly degraded in some way. In some way, it's going to be found out that you've done something wrong. That could change things. That could cause this shift, because there was a time where owning people was totally fine. And then people stopped owning other people. And it was uncomfortable for a very long time, and now it's accepted. So maybe that's what needs to happen when it comes to sexual assault. Every single infraction, no matter what the level, there's some type of punishment that happens, because then maybe eventually things will stop happening. Because people will know that they'll get punished for it.